Nicky Dickey here, and I want to talk about the ADP report and the fact that it's having a positive effect on what's going on in the market today, but also why not to get too excited about it. So here's the actual report from ADP, and it says that we added 177,000 private jobs. We're only on the 30th, so I'm not quite sure how that totally transpires, given the fact we still have 2 more days left. But what I really want to talk about is how the market responds to this. As you guys listen to my videos, I keep telling you this. The data, to a large extent, is not relevant in the scheme of things. The question is, how does the market respond to the data? So this is how CNBC is reporting this. So what it's reporting is that job growth slowed sharply in August. Okay. What it means is that in the month of July, we did 324,000 jobs. Okay, so that's lovely. But more importantly, when you look at these numbers, they actually increased July from 324 to 371. So July was actually a more robust month than originally anticipated. And they expected 201,000 jobs in the month of July, and we got 371. They expected 200,000 jobs in August, and we got 177. So between the two, you're still above the expectations from the 2 months. And again, as most people have listened to my videos, I keep talking about this. Don't take an individual month for anything, because it's not a trend, it's not anything. It's just a 1 month. So you can have 2 or 3 months in a row, and it's better to average those months to get a better picture of how that quarter or the 6 months or the year went than it is to just take a 1 month picture. Because in my opinion, some of the jobs went forward. So instead of really having 371 in July and 177, it's probably closer to 300,000 in July and 200,000 in August. But regardless, the bigger issue is, again, how we report this. So this month, it's well above expectations. And this month, it's sharply lower. So what does that mean? Part of it is why there was a swoon in the market in July and August, is that some of the data that had come out made it look like the economy was stronger and employment wasn't rolling over, so the Fed raised rates and go further than we expected. Now, we just had the Jackson Hole conversation with Powell, and that really didn't transpire. But it was one of the things that was shaking the market a little bit. But the bigger one I want to show you on this is the ADP numbers versus the jobs report. Now, the reason I don't want you to get excited about ADP or jobs or anything in between, look at the correlation here. So you've got ADP versus the jobs actual reports. Only twice in the last 12 months has it even been within 10% of each other. Most of the time, you're talking off 112, 130, 107, 388%. These aren't close. Even though this one's down, it's still down 50%, off 58%. So they're not close. So what I want you to pay attention to is when the jobs report comes out, it could be completely the reverse of this. If we see a reversal here, I'm guessing the market's going to take it the opposite direction and go and freak out because they think Powell's going to go back up again. What does this really mean? Nothing. It's just the market going crazy. I don't quite understand why the market takes it as tight as it is, especially given what Powell has talked about and given how the market has responded to this in general. The stock market is up solidly today and has been for the last 4 days, which is making up a lot of the ground that we lost in the market for the month of August, which is great. When you start looking at these numbers, these are really the only couple months that they were close, May and April. The rest of them have been really far off. When you look at the jobs report, part of the issue that comes down with the jobs report is the wage spiral that they always talk about. And when the wage spiral becomes an issue, it is a large part of inflation. It is a large part of what employers have to continue to have in their pricing to make sure that they can pay their employees, that they're profitable. If the wages continue to go up and there's a continued strength, it's going to continue to put pressure on inflation on the core products. And that's really one of the focuses of the Fed when they look at these numbers. I don't know that they're as concerned with the numbers per se, but how the numbers correlate to the actual increase in employment numbers. If it's year over year, we're talking about income up 5, 6, 8, 9%. Again, we might be getting that wage spiral that they're all concerned about. If we can continue to keep the numbers in line, if we can keep it in the 200,000-300,000 range, that's a good solid growth number. We're in pretty darn good shape. But when we start getting into the 500,000 range, I think that's when we start getting into the concern of the wage spiral. And that's what Powell's more concerned with than these numbers. He's concerned about the wages, if they're going to go up and they're going to be persistent and continue to make inflation sticky. And if it's continuing to be sticky, is that going to be a problem going forward? Again, when we look at the ADP numbers, I'm not that concerned about it. They haven't been correlated to the actual jobs report. I'm more looking at the jobs report than I am the ADP numbers, because to me they're a more accurate indicator of what's really going on in the market than the ADP numbers. Historically, they've been far more consistent in telling us what's actually going on in the jobs market. Again, when I look at these numbers and go, we're still adding a ton of jobs. And to me, that's never a bad thing. And yes, maybe there's some wage issues, but I'm guessing it's not as big as we might think it is in the long run. Because as I look at the last decade, one of the biggest complaints is that with low inflation, people's income did not keep up because it's part of inflation. And if inflation's at 2% and we're keeping jobs at less than 2% increases per year, that's not a good thing. I'd rather continue to see the employment continue to be robust, continue to be a good solid part of the economy. We'll work the rest of it out. When I look at CPI and inflation, to me the core is really real estate. When I look at CPI and it's at 7.7%, until that comes down, we're not getting under 3. And if it's not coming down, that's going to be your sticky part. The rest of this, I think we're working through. I hope the jobs report comes in solid. I'm guessing just by the numbers that it's probably going to come in higher than expected, which will be a little concerning for the stock market. So the things to look for over the next couple of weeks is going to be the jobs report, and the next one is going to be CPI. I believe it's the 13th. Talk to your financial advisor. Make sure your portfolio is set up so that you can retire when you want to retire and how you want to retire. Dickie out.